Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making Baked Ziti. So this is a pretty easy recipe to make. It really is not a complicated thing. You just take your time and pace it and you would do great at making a great meal. So let's start out with about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in our pan. And to this, I'm adding the onion pepper blend that I use all the time. It's basically red pepper, green pepper, and chopped up onion, which is basically a third of a cup of each. And we're going to heat this up in the pan and the olive oil. It is still frozen, however, it will cook quickly. So what I'm doing is stirring it around to make sure the oil gets through all of the vegetables. It should take about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes to just basically thaw them out, get them cooking. Because they're going to cook as you put the sauce together anyway. But it's probably better just to like put them in frozen and let it go. So I have my temperature around medium to high, which is gonna help get this done a little bit faster. To this, I am adding about 3.5-4 cloves of garlic, which have been minced. So you want to make sure that they're very much chopped up and in small bits. You can buy this in a container at the store, so you don't have to actually mince it and just, pull it out as you need it, which is what I do most of the time. I'm not sure what it is about chopping up garlic, but it does leave a smell on your hands. So now I have all of this mixed through in my pan and I'm letting it continue to heat. And as you can see, mine is actually cooked through at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and add a pound of ground beef. Now, if you don't want to use ground beef, you don't have to. You could use Italian sausage. It's your choice what you use. I use ground beef because it's just something that, in my family, that's what we've always done. It is cheaper than getting Italian sausage sometimes, but in the stores today, who knows what you're going to pay for whatever, because groceries are through the roof. But a pound of ground beef works really well for this, or if you want to go for Italian sausage, do it. I'm adding a tablespoon of salt, and then I am adding a half of a teaspoon of pepper. And once this is all in, I'm going to mix it up and start chopping up my ground beef. I want to make sure as this cooks that it is chopped up really fine and that the pieces are smaller. You don't want huge pieces of beef because you want to actually let this go throughout the entire sauce, so when you put it into the ziti, you're going to have an even mix of sauce and your meat and your peppers and your onions, and they're going to go all throughout. So cook it, brown it, and then get them down to smaller pieces of ground beef. If while you're cooking this you notice that you get a lot of grease in your pan, by the time you browned your ground beef, you want to remove a bit of that. You don't want to take a greasy sauce into your ziti. Mine had a little bit of oil when I was done, and I just spooned it out, and then it made no difference because I wanted to get the oil out before I actually put any of the tomatoes or sauce or anything into it, because you don't want that mixing through, because then you just have a lot of oil that's going to float on top of your tomatoes or whatever. And once you actually, if you store this and refrigerate it, it'll get kind of slimy and disgusting that way. So you really don't want to do it. So get the oil, grease, whatever you want to call it, out of your pan once you cooked your beef completely through, or even if you're using sausage for that matter. So as you can see, I keep turning mine and chopping it up. That's the important thing, is to keep it going, keep flipping it, so that way it'll brown on all sides. The good thing about cooking it like this, I know I put in frozen peppers and onions and everything like this, but everything gets a chance to cook through just because of the fact that you do have it on a higher heat, and everything will go through and cook completely regardless if it was frozen vegetables or not. So as you can see in my pan now, my ground beef is browned. I have removed a lot of the extra grease oil that was in the bottom, and I am ready to add tomato sauce. So what I'm adding is a 24-ounce can of traditional tomato sauce. And then to that, I am going to add a 14.5 can of petite diced tomatoes, which have basil, garlic, and oregano in them. They call it Italian style. They have a great taste. This is something really wonderful to add in when you're making a sauce. So at that point, which both of those are in there, stir up a little bit, make sure everything is mixed through. And the bulk of your sauce is in here, which is really great now at this point. So what we're going to add to this is about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And you can buy this at any store. It's just Italian mix of flavor. And I'm going to do that thing that everybody's like, oh my God, is he adding sugar to this? Yes, I am. I am using at least a couple of teaspoons of sugar. The point being in adding this is it takes away from the harsh taste of tomatoes and takes down the acidity and makes it actually really flavorful. It's not really like marinara, but sweet anyway. It's a great sauce, and when you taste it, it works really good when you have like a noodle or something that you're putting this on, because it isn't that harsh flavor. It just basically is a great tasting sauce. So now that we have all of this in here, we're going to let this simmer for a few minutes. And then we're going to take it off the heat and set it to the side, because all of our ingredients are already cooked. But I would give it 5 minutes to simmer before you set it aside, just for the fact that we want to make sure that everything is heated through and that the last seasonings and everything that got put in here are actually mixing through the whole sauce. So stir it if you want to. I would do it every couple of minutes. And then once you're done with that, as I said, we're going to set it to the side. Now, in a very large pot, we are going to fill it about halfway with water. And then we're going to add a little bit of olive oil and some salt to it. So that way we're going to cook our ziti in this pan. So get it hot, and then you're going to add to the pan 1 pound of ziti, which is basically the box you get at the store. And it's going to be a lot. So if you're making this, if you're trying to feed a family, it's perfect. If you're an individual, you will be putting it in the refrigerator and eating on it for a couple of days. And then once the ziti is in the water, stir it around a little bit so that way the oil coats it and then your noodles don't stick together. So you're going to need a large glass container or whatever you're going to put in your oven. You're going to spray it with some cooking spray so this doesn't stick. Preheat your oven to at least 360, 370 degrees. This is going to go in for a half an hour. So go ahead and put your ziti in the pan. Make sure it's spread out. And then once you've got it in there completely, we're going to bring our sauce in that we made, and we're going to pour it over top the noodles. Now, the good thing about this is, as this is cooking in the oven, it's going to simmer and bubble, and it's going to work its way through the noodles. However, go ahead and mix it around to where you've got your sauce kind of incorporated all over the top of this, and around the sides, pull it in a little bit, so that way you can make sure that the sauce is getting down into the noodles. You just want to make sure it's not going to be like some noodles when you put them in the oven, they get really hard and they have that really not nice texture to them. We're just trying to make sure that this actually gets coated so that way we don't have that problem when it comes out of the oven. So now the sauce is mixed all the way through and around the edges enough to where it can go in the oven. And then to this, we are going to take about, I'd say, 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese and spread it all over the top. We want to just get an even coating everywhere. So that way this cheese actually cooks into the top of this when it's in the oven. And next, you're going to need at least 2 cups of mozzarella cheese to put over the top of the whole pan. So we're going to go from side to side, corner to corner, and fill it with the mozzarella. And this is going to give you a very thick layer of mozzarella on top. It's really great when it's hot because it's really kind of stringy, stretchy, and it has a wonderful taste, which is really great about this whole thing. It's not hard to make, but it makes a great meal, and it looks like you put some effort into it. It just has that wonderful, I had a really great meal thing going on. So go ahead, spread out your mozzarella, get it all over the top. Use up your whole 2 cups of it. And if you have to, push it into the corners a little bit, because that'll help protect some of the noodles when they're cooking. So once you have it completely spread out, we're going to put it in the oven. And when it comes back after half an hour, it looks something like this. And this is a wonderful meal, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked this recipe, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you really like the food that I cook, check out my cookbook, which is available at Amazon and stores worldwide. Have a great day.